up to speed, up to speed, up to speed.
Live from the apocalypse, this is State of the Game, where we paraphrase all of music. And my name is Dano. My wife says that if I was a Malcolm in the Middle character, I'd be the mother, and I'm proud of it. So, I was, and my hottest take, this is a getting to know me segment. My hottest take is that when Usher makes a sexy face, he looks like a baby pooping. I stand by it. Go ahead. Watch the Super Bowl halftime. Whenever he makes the sexy face, he looks like a baby trying to poop. Like he's got a devilish surprise, you know? So there you go. That's how we're kicking this off. And my co-host, who is far above everything I just said, world traveler, a scholar, you know, you're just somebody that, you know, they'll have a movie based on at some point. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I appreciate you being here. Hey, Diggy, how is your life treating you?
Good, good.
Good.
Can't complain.
I got a haircut at Sports Clips, Kay. And
oh, wow.
They were playing the Super Bowl because they can't, it's Sports Clips, so they have to run ESPN all day. And I talked to them and they were like, yeah, ESPN's been running the Super Bowl all day. So we've seen the Super Bowl 3 times. Just Taylor Swift in the box for the full shift. You know what I'm saying? Crazy, dog. Crazy. I think I don't know if I could do it. I think I'd lose it after a bit. It's a lot of the same game. But anyway, I appreciate you that we've got somebody here who is an incredibly important part of the music scene that we cover. Like, and I'm so happy because also like one of those people who is able to love and appreciate music outside of the type of music that he makes. Like that's really great. And not everyone has that. So somebody that's great to pick your brain when it comes to this stuff, but also at the very helm of some of the most interesting music coming out of the scene. So yeah, Minnesota Slim. OKnice.
Wow, man, that really hit me. That like sincerely, I appreciate that a lot. And to be clear, I listen to the kind of music I make too. That's been a hot topic lately,
Sure.
the people listening.
Yeah,
But yeah. That's the last thing I need to be pegged of like, gee, okay, nice. You don't even listen to what he makes. That's not what I need on my plate right now.
No, you came on last time and you were like, I love UGK. And I'm like, this is great because you're
we did talk about I don't talk about UGK enough. See, that's what I gotta figure out how to work them in a conversation.
That's what it is. People come to you and they're like, you know, oh, tell me about the heartfelt, you know, piano driven confessional rap that you're listening to. And you're like, I'm listening to UGK. I don't know. So thank you for being here and agreeing not just to, you know, be covered and discussed, because you released an incredible project at the end of last year, you know, with Claude 6 and Lunkhead, I believe. It's a fine line between something.
Planted and buried.
Damn it. I had it. It was in my head, Kay.
Yeah.
You know, I tried to do it off memory. You got to pull it up, you know. But I ran that project hard. And I felt guilty about it because I was like doing my lists and I'm like, this doesn't really fit the list, but I'm listening to it so much, so I feel like an asshole. But this is why I wanted, you know, partially you wanted to have you on, but I think also you represent something really important, and a type of MC that we were just starting to talk about here and cover. So we'll get into that.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, man. I know I'm 2 for 2 on November releases. No more. If you see me talk about releases anymore, just send me a little memo. It's like, hey, not November. No more end of
I
year
remember
releases.
yet. Relax, relax. But no, Kay and I, we talked to Monzi the Terrible. We talked to some other really interesting people who were like really digging into themselves and discussing their lives. And we started calling that the Dr. Katz MC. Um, and the idea for the Dr. Katz MC came to me because you are on a song that established the need for me to think of a term for this. Novella. We off yeah, Bluest and with Andrew's album Land of last year. Um and Andrew, Love Ulysses, and you, and it was just it was it was exactly the posse track energy of one-upsmanship, but it was with gutting yourself
It really was.
and dealing with depression and shit. And like it was like, no, I'm going further. It was fucking awesome. Um, so being a part of that, like when you heard that song, did it hit you how special that came out?
It did. And it was one of those I was nervous about because I wrote and recorded my verse way earlier, like way I think before anybody else did anything. And it was at just like an extremely low point. And I don't tend to write a lot of stuff like in the moment raw. Like I process something for 10 years and then I write a song about it.
Yeah.
And that verse was very in the moment. And then a lot of time passed. I was hanging out with Love Ulysses in his place, listened to his verse. I was like, shit, you kind of go like, I'm about to rewrite. No, and then so I was nervous. I didn't know how it held up. But then yeah, Andrew sent out like a rough demo. I even think it had like a different hook. It wasn't even close to like the final. But I mean, it was one where I played that and I went, okay, no, that's it. I got no other, no worries at all. And then when it dropped, I've listened to that so much. Um, yeah, it's a great track. It's
It
a
was
great album. That whole project is wild. Because that's the kind of project that should make me tired by the end of it because of the kind of weight that it carries, but it doesn't.
that's a great point. Yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
was gonna say, what was it like listening to that verse again that you had recorded?
It was weird. It was weird because it was such a specific because I was trying to remember this the other day. That verse and then the track I did with Teddy Faley that dropped fall 2022.
Yeah.
I actually recorded those around the same time. I want to say it was spring of 2022. Because it was at the old recording space that we haven't had for a long time. And so it was such a specific time, such a specific frame of mind that it was definitely one of those where it's like, oh yeah, I remember that feeling. It was definitely a like oof.
And
Oh
go ahead, sorry.
yeah, and I just think that's also, I mean, probably the same reason that's why I thought it held up too, because I wasn't too worried about like, the technicality of the raps and things like that.
You were in the moment, yeah. It's and and one of the things that I think makes it such a classic of the Dr. Katz genre, as much as people are gutting each other, the hook is so fun and it's so like little engine that could. It's like we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it. You got it, baby. And then it goes to the next verse and it gets even more savage, you know. It's awesome.
It's the sexiest sad song you'll ever hear. Because Andrew's chorus on that, like everything he like, no matter what he's talking about or what he's doing, there's just like there's a sexiness to it. I can't tell you why or how, but it's always there, and that's what he does on that hook.
That's awesome. That's such a great point. But yeah, you know, um, you've just been absolutely solid, and motivated, and it's been awesome to watch. Have you tried being happy? Made a real impact. Uh, did you feel doors open after that project?
I did. Yeah, and it was
March of
almost
2022, right?
yeah, Yeah, that's 2 years almost, which is crazy. Uh, but yeah, I mean, and it felt almost instant, which was not what I expected. Most of my, I mean, career is always feels like a weird word. That's what it is. I'm trying to embrace it. Most of my career has always been a slow burn. Like it really has. Is I do some stuff, and then 6 months to a year later, it pays off. You see it build, and it's like, all right, great, you know. But that one was like it came out and just started to see like um, just started to see people take notice and give a lot of respect. And that was cool. And it's gone a long way too, you know. It made me stop worrying about like constant output, which was nice. Like it gave some staying power.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, not every time, but sometimes the albums that hit the biggest are the ones where you actually got closest to who you are. You know what I mean? You were shooting for a, a perfect expression of yourself. You never get there, but you got so close that people who didn't know you before were like, ah, fuck. This is it. Like when you listen to that album, you've never heard OKnice, you're like, oh shit, okay. I understand this. I understand who this is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Is that I always kind of like I treat that like the new 52 in DC, right?
Mhm.
That was the universe relaunch.
Yep.
What was
Yep.
that? What kind of new introduction? You know, the rest of the lore is still there, but like, yeah, that's the one. If people say, "What do you do?" I start there every time.
Yeah. It's you got it. You got it because the people who are coming in, they don't know your legacy. You know, that's one of the problems. If you're talking about how cool your legacy is, the new people are like, I don't know, man. Okay. Um, but yeah, yeah. So, Kay, how did you feel about the fine line?
You know what? I really enjoyed it. I think it really started to hit me uh the path between the trees.
Oh my
So
God.
that was the track 3. And
Let's,
that's when it really I don't know, there was something in that song that really struck a chord. I think it was the production and the lyrics. But I think when that song hit, that's when I just started to like really ease into the project.
yeah, yeah. I pinged OKnice when this came out and was like, this project is more than like the sum of its total. You know what I mean? It
Right.
just it doesn't feel, sometimes, you know, you listen to a group project and you're like, ah, so and so's verse is good, so and so's good, and you start picking it apart. And
Right.
sometimes it's the right groove, it's the right balance, and you forget about all that shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a really distinct vibe to it.
Right.
Uh, that it's like compared to what's out in I guess you could say the musical landscape. There's a really distinct vibe, and I wanted to ask, okay, nice. How would you describe the vibe, and how did you develop that vibe for this album or for this project?
Yeah. I get. I always try to think about like it just feels or at least how I approached it was it's a grown up rap record without any pressure, right? So like there's no illusions about like where me and Claude are at, or where Lunkhead's at with what he's doing, but we're also not trying to like reinvent the wheel either, you know? And I think that's like we wanted that to come across. We didn't want it to be, that feeling of like didn't want it to feel like homework to listen to or pick apart.
Right.
Um, want to be fairly easy to pick up, just listen, but also be apparent like, I mean he like does urban farming and has chickens. I think he's got some livestock, and like
Yep.
he raps a lot about that. And it's like for me it was a good challenge because it's like, well, this isn't my time to come in and be like, here are the top 5 worst things that have happened to me this
Yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah.
It was like a good challenge for me to just kind of have these very like normal verses, which
Right.
felt really good. I mean, so it's like it's serious at times, and I still do the thing that I do. Um, but yeah, it felt very comfortable, and it felt like very very adult without being like dated, and that helps because Lunkhead, he's a young dude, you know, and yeah, and that was really the big approach I think though, was just not to overthink it on our side and not to make something people had to overthink on the other side too, right? Basically, easy listening, basically.
Yeah. There's two of these songs that I could throw into any playlist and be happy. Um, and it's Path Between the Trees.
Yeah.
I was blown away when I first heard that. I was like, fuck. I listened to it a lot. And Nobody.
Yeah, I remember you like Nobody. Yeah.
Nobody's crazy. Nobody's crazy. Um, yeah, yeah. But I'm a big fan of that, like Bad Moon Rising approach of like a really super fucking devastatingly depressing song that's catchy as shit and trying to trick you. Love that shit. Love that shit.
The Nobody was that's another one of those. I think Nobody got recorded around the same time as the verse I did for the Andrew song. Because those all got recorded right before my recording guy moved away. And so they're all kind of in that same pocket. And there's a few tracks like that where it's like you can tell they're from that same era, but Path Between the Trees was later for me. Claude did them. He worked so fast. But yeah, they were all kind of recorded in the same space. But you're right, man. And the way he carries a hook, yeah, you're right. He's tricky. You
Yeah.
think it's something like smooth and soft, and then you're like, wait a minute, read a lyric.
And I also felt like throughout the album, you were kickoff guy for a bunch of it because like you've got a very cool rap voice. You've got a deep tone. And so you come on the track and it's very authoritative right off the bat. And that establishes tempo. And then you can play with it from there, but like boom, and that's the power obviously of Novella when you start off and kick off and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like starting tracks. I don't like anchoring tracks ever. That's why I think me and Love Ulysses are always like,
Yeah.
if you need two features, have us on. Let
Yeah.
Ulysses anchor it. Let me start it. We're great. It's a great track. If that's how it happens.
Because Love Ulysses voice is everywhere, right? It's everywhere. So you can't forecast where that's gonna go. And opening up that madness after you is great. Like it works really well. I was on a Discord chat this week and I said I think Love Ulysses has a real chance at being an all-time great MC.
Yep. I I go to like heavy bat for how much I really believe he's just one of the best people doing it.
Yeah.
Both like when I talk about our local scene, which is its own conversation, but like just at large, I just think, and I think it'd be true for me, I think it'd be true if he stopped today. I think I'd still, stand on everything that he did at that point was still better than a lot of stuff that was happening around it. And yeah, he's wildly good, and we're such good friends at this point that it definitely comes out as like, well, it's your homie, but no, I'll go to bat for him over anybody.
Yeah.
What is it? What is it about him that, or about his rapping that really resonated with you?
I think it's how like I don't want to make it sound like making him sound like a kid, but there's something like really pure about the way that he does it. It's so honest. Like it's just like the joy he gets out of it, the frustration he gets out of making music.
Yeah.
All of those feelings are just like they're just really honest and they're really present. And we both overthink a lot. Um, but so far, at least through what I've seen, it's not to his like detriment. It's to the point where he just makes sure he cares about what he does. Um, and it's just, yeah, that's just really apparent to me. And I really, really love it, because then he technically gets better too, right? Um, and that to me is fairly rare, to see somebody continue to care so much and in such an honest way, but then also continue to improve on a technical level.
Yep. Technically, somebody who can go, back and forth with Alaska and hold up. But like, like in subject matter, is somebody who will take you from disgusting to naive to crushingly personal, to political, to like whatever, um lots of twists and turns. So yeah, I'm with you. um yeah, that's where I'm at. But we were talking about, um progression here, tracking progression. And that's kind of the theme of what we're talking about, the albums we brought in, and you're great to discuss because you have tracked your progression, right? We've seen the brand build. So, but as a listener, because you listen to everything like we do, right? Um, when you what are you looking for from artists you follow? What is your expectation for progression?
Yeah, so my two big things, and they don't both have to happen, but the one I care about as I get older is artists that I've aged with or growing up with having that reflect in their own music, right? Like I have hit this weird point where like I would feel weird about like, I mean he's older than me, but like I would feel weird about like a Jay-Z club record.
Right, right,
If it was
right.
like a pure club record, right? Like he can make a club record, but if it were like a I don't know, throwing money, like picking up women, that'd feel weird to me, right? Like that'd be because we just spent so much time talking about like, I don't know, investments and things.
Yeah.
Like because it doesn't feel honest to me. I think there's a way that somebody can do that, and I think I think there are guys who do that, and it's like I believe you. But it's like, I hate when I hate to invoke the name. I'm about to curse the podcast, but like this is about like Eminem, right?
Right, right, right.
I believe that he has things to talk about. I believe he has interesting things from his life at his age that I would think are interesting to hear about. I might not like how he raps about them or things like that, but I think he chooses to not do that, right? Um, I don't think he's told us anything relevant from his like day-to-day life in a long time. And I think that's a shame, uh, because I think he's still got stuff that could be said that could be interesting. Whereas I do like, that is part of what I like about Jay-Z, is like he raps in a way of like where he's at, for better or worse, right?
Right, right, right.
Um, and I appreciate that a lot. Andre 3000, just in how he exists, right? He didn't give us a rap record, but
Mhm.
he exists in a way that's like, this is just where I'm um at this stage in my life. And I really look to that. The other thing is like not necessarily changing a sound, because I sometimes I think that's a way to avoid growth, is you're like bouncing between sounds. Um, but like furthering those things we love about somebody, right? You don't do something we love on one record and then go, okay, I checked that off the list. Now I'm never going to do that again, or I've already proven I can do that. Because it's like, doing it once doesn't mean you got it locked down. I want to see you take it further. Like, well, one of the records with the Reef record, to me, my favorite thing we listened to this week.
Yep.
But that one has one of that really encapsulates where like you make how to make a great sad song, cool, but then the next record you talk about that same thing in a different way or a more interesting way, and then the record after that you make it catchy, like because those
Right,
feelings
right.
don't go away, but how you talk about them can change and shift, and those are the big things I look for. Is how do you repackage the things we love.
Right, right. How do you give us a new color? The like you've given us lots of colors. How do you give us a new color? Right? Because we don't want. And this is one of the things when I covered mixtapes that I felt like mixtapes were having a negative effect on artists' growth. I started to become concerned because they would allow you to do, you know, Cocaine Cabana 7, Cocaine Cabana 8, Cocaine Cabana 9. And you'd be like, oh my God, you're not growing. These are just you're just grabbing beats and spitting about cocaine again. Like you're avoiding making your opus, you know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah. That's a great point.
It's so yeah, it's been interesting progression because and Kay, the thing we shouldn't lose track of here is that let's say you are a rapper and your debut album, 5 million copies,
Right.
concept album about fish, right?
Mhm.
And you go in and you're like, next album is all about my grandmother passing, and the executive's gonna look you in the face and go, I'm very sorry she passed. But we need some fucking fish.
Yeah, I mean, your stress, your success can be strangling to your artistic growth.
That's the
I mean, there
Eminem
is a
thing. I think
yeah,
OKnice is right that Eminem has stuff to say. I think he can't do it the way he would like to do it because of the financial ramifications of what he was doing.
yeah. I mean, you can't. Your success allows you it allow you to get big enough where you just can't afford to take risk anymore. And risk are, I mean, that's a vital aspect of progression is taking risk.
100%. 100%. Yeah. It's interesting. And I think, yeah, so we can talk about it. We've got uh three albums here to discuss. The aforementioned, the Triumphant, Reef the Lost Cause. Um, we've got Crime Apple and Preservation. Um, and that is El Leon. And the third, is Jesse the Tree, not Fade Away. Yep. So these are all great because they all do show progression for these artists individually, and I can't wait to talk about it. So let's give it to the guest. Let's say what do you want to start talking about?
Let's start with the Crime Apple record.
Let's do it.
Let's because that's I think order. Let's start with the Crime Apple
El
and
Leon.
Preservation record.
El Leon. I had this as my favorite album of January until I tuned into the Triumphant. Did the Triumphant come out in January? Am I fucking that up?
I don't
Um,
remember.
I got it.
let's
I got
see.
it. I got it.
Came out February 2nd.
Okay. I still think best album of 2024 might be the Triumphant, but I love El Leon. I love El Leon. And Boulevard is my favorite song of the year. I love Boulevard.
Really?
Love Boulevard. Absolutely. Um, uh, yeah. So and I'm not a fan of every Crime Apple project. Um, Crime Apple puts out a lot of work, Kay. I don't know if you've seen if you look up Crime Apple's discography, there's a lot going on. Group projects, individual stuff, collaborations. Um, so I was surprised that Preservation was doing an album with Crime Apple because Preservation's the opposite. Preservation only releases a project ever so often, right? And when Preservation comes out and drops a project, everyone's like, "Oh shit, this is important." Whereas Crime Apple's ever present, hitting the heavy bag, So this was an interesting combination from that perspective.
I mean, that's what made me tune in was seeing the Preservation because I listened to Crime Apple for a while, um, before I was even aware there was like this whole lane that he was in.
Yep.
He was kind of my introductory to that, and so yeah, I knew he put out a lot, but yeah, seeing Preservation was what made me decide like, yeah, we got to talk about that one.
Yeah. Preservation's production on this is stunning. I absolutely adore it. Um, it's so cool because like the Preservation is an old New York head that makes dusty New York hip hop sounds, but has an incredible ability to integrate like other cultural sounds into that. The Eastern medicine, Western illness, like Hong Kong sounds. And like most times, if you were telling me, like, oh, I'm gonna bring that dusty boom bap New York shit, mix it with Hong Kong shit, I'm like, it's probably gonna sound terrible. Like, but he nails it because he fully invests himself in understanding this and does it. And so this is the Latin sounds, right? Um, and so we get horns and we get congas, and on Boulevard we get that like really kind of gentle, beautiful, almost bossa nova guitar. Um, it's it's just really nuanced production, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
I
would.
think. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, preservation. He's one of those types. Like he doesn't. He has a deeper than surface level understanding of the music.
Yeah.
He's not doing just what he thinks sounds good. I think that he really takes time and he really invests himself and his attention into what he's trying to create.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly because I think the beats on paper, I don't know how, like, imagine you could describe them on paper. I
Yeah.
would probably not expect them to be as interesting if I didn't know preservation. I wouldn't expect them to be as interesting as they are. They had so much dynamic to this project. The dynamics on this project was crazy to me from front to back. And I gotta listen to it way more to understand how I even think it worked that way. Because again, just from what I know about preservation's process, if it was a different producer, I would probably assume it sounds fairly one note or, in the same box. But it's crazy how diverse the soundscape is on this.
Was it? There was there was a song near the end of it, like Paw Prints in the Sand, maybe, where it was so minimal. Like the sonics were so minimal that you were just like, wow, like this is putting a lot on Crime, and Crime is doing it. And Crime's like, yeah, let's do it. It's crazy. So, Crime is a ready to go MC. Plug him in anywhere he does his thing. Um, one of my things about Crime Apple is I think Crime Apple waits for the producer to organize the album. Right? Like Crime spits, but in terms of a cohesive album, the most cohesive Crime Apple albums to me are that way because of the producers who organized it.
I gotta think about that. Because I think you're right. I never thought about that, but I think you're right.
It's because like what my favorite, like most people when they talk about the best Crime Apple album, right? They go back to what 2017, Aguardiente, uh, which is the Big Ghost Limited, right? That's the Big Ghost Limited thing. Very cohesive, right? Um, and so I just think some like it's we've talked about this with Action Bronson, right? Action Bronson just wants to spit, right? He doesn't really understand or go for concept albums. Like he just themes stuff and leaves it, Um, and I think Crime is similar. Crime was similar, but um, there was the reason I checked into this album. I mean, I was going to check into it because preservation, whatever. But a reason I was interested is because there's an album called I think it was El Comandante. Yes, El Cantante. Sorry,
Yeah.
El
Like the
Cantante.
LeBeau? Oh.
It was a Fania tribute album. Came out January of 2023,
Oh.
and it was dope. It was really dope. It's called El Cantante. And if you look at the cover at the very top, it has the Fania lettering that is on all those Fania Brazilian soul like albums, salsa, and like, and the music is a tribute to that. But if you don't know Fania, you wouldn't know. It's not a beat you over the head thing. It was subtle. And the first song, I think it's called My Song, one of the best songs I think he's ever made. Um, and yeah, My Song. And I was like, okay, all right. Crime Apple is this might be interesting, you know? And on this album, El Leon, I have an El Leon sweatshirt on the way. Um, it's he hits my favorite kind of street shit, right? Which is old, wistful street shit. Old, tired, wistful street shit. There's a lot. It's fucking awesome. I love that. I love that. That's why Boulevard is so dope to me, because it's like, it's not, yeah, it's not like triumphant, you know? It's just kind of, I've been through this. I remember this. Do you remember this? You know, been through this. They thought I was out. I'm back in. Fucking A, you know?
Mm.
Yeah. That's my take on that.
How many Crime Apple projects have you listened to?
I don't know, man. I think I've listened to more Crime Apple albums than I have talked to relatives in my own family.
Okay.
It's a lot. Dude has a lot of music, bro. He's
So,
got albums with Mugs. He's Crime Apple's everywhere, dude.
how would you say, based on what you've heard, how would you say he's progressed?
But that's what I think. The progression on this album to me is the tone of the subject, not the subject, the tone of the subject. Think about that Sadat X song, right? It's like the second one. Oh, don't mention it. He has this incredible moment, I think, at the end of his verse where he just says, like, you don't have to mention it. I know what I meant to this.
Yeah, that closer was like that's what sold me that I was gonna enjoy the record. Because at first, I won't lie, at first I was like, all right, it's a crime record, which is like
Yeah.
I'll put it on. But that was a clear tone moment, I think.
Yeah, that poise and that kind of you know, looking back on your journey, and you're like, you're no longer in the I'm proving to you I can rap phase. You're in the here's what's important to me, here's what I've been through, here's what is the essence of what I do.
I felt like I wrote down the one thing I wrote down was the jokes were more sparing too. Like they were funny because he's always been really funny, right? That's
Yeah.
one thing I've always enjoyed about him is he's
Yep.
always saying funny stuff. Um, and the stuff he said that was funny was hilarious, but there wasn't a lot of it.
Yep.
And I think you summed it up well of like why, because I thought about like, oh, well, the overall tone was that. But yeah, I mean, because he doesn't have nearly as many like, just out of nowhere gut punchers like that just make you laugh like that.
Yeah, to me, Kay, this is the essence of who Crime Apple is, right? It's like, I've been ferocious out here for years and years. And this is who I am. Like, I've left tracks on this game, you know? And woof, it's so well produced. It's so cool. The cover is amazing. I love the cover. And it's 26 minutes long.
It was the shortest listen today.
Yeah, yeah. And
by
it's
a lot.
by a lot. And it was like, and the bastards had the best song be the last song. And so I'm sitting there at the end of 26 minutes being, is there a volume 2? You need to do a volume 2. Like I felt like they were really hitting their stride, you know? And so I could go for another one of these. One of my Crime Apple problems is that he just hops from everywhere and kind of does albums everywhere and just leaves them everywhere. It doesn't feel like it's a part of a plan, you know?
Hmm.
Uh, whereas you see people that you work with. We've talked to people, Kay, where they started working and it came out so special they knew they had to keep working,
Well,
right? And I hope that's the case here, that it finally slows down the process and they lock in for more, because I think there's more here.
hmm. So I have a question to both of you because I've thought about this because of how you know we in the past, like, we view legacies, like when we're reviewing legacies, like musical legacies, we've looked at them in like I feel like we review them in like kind of a very linear fashion. How do you think in the future people are going to look at and review legacies, like musical legacies?
Yeah. Ooh. That's an impossible question to answer, but I have an answer. That's how I do it, Kay. That's why I like you, Kay.
Yeah, go ahead. Like,
You serve
because
the
it's not like, I think of like a Tupac, even a Jay-Z, like we review their legacies, and I only say those two because those are the first two that came in my head. We review their legacies in a kind of very linear fashion. Like, it started with Jay-Z, started with Reasonable Doubt, and
Yep.
then we went on from there. But nowadays, like you said, like Crime Apple, I'm looking at his Bandcamp. He released a project in December and January.
Yep. Yep.
So artists are just releasing project at such a rapid scope that there's not really any linearity to it anymore.
Well, I think like so you go first. Okay, nice. I've got a
I
thought.
mean, so yeah, can you hit my problem with like in the age of like so much releasing, as someone who doesn't release a ton, I'm always
Right.
just floored by how much so many people can release. But that's my trouble is like when I was trying to think about crimes like growth in general, it's like I don't know because I haven't listened to everything because I can't listen to everything. And that's what, yeah, I think that's the biggest struggle with how to look at legacy. And I honestly think that it's part of how like I'll just invoke all of the big expected names. It's how to me Woods has such a clear legacy because it's spaced out so well, and I think that there's a lot of smart stuff in that. And 'cause I don't know how you gauge a legacy of somebody who drops so much. And like in my head, it's not possible. Um, if we're talking outside of that era. If we're talking about specific eras of rap, then cool. I think it's easy to see Crime's place. It's saying these projects didn't work, but all these were great. But as like an overall throughout history, I don't know if you can
Right.
very subjectively without just being like, or very objectively without just being like, oh, I just really like that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So to me, okay, there's like no so legacy is not only just not linear, there's no provable path to it, right? There's no
Hmm.
map that takes you there, right? So legacy is is about spider webbing, right? How did I learn about music? Well, I learned about music by buying music, checking the credits, and then buying the music of people on the credits. right? I bought the Chronic and I studied every name inside. And I was like, okay, RBX drops bombs like Hiroshima. I'm gonna check that out, right?
Hmm.
And like I spiderweb from there, right? Jazz, same thing, right? Oh, who's playing piano on this Miles Davis album? I got to check out his album, right? So that's how music listeners who are music nerds process things, right? They tend to spider web out of what they like. Does that make sense? So, like, to give you real live examples in hip hop, I was there in 2000. Like, I wasn't particularly young. And no, none of us cared about LP. None of us cared about Aesop Rock. We thought Aesop Rock was babbling in a language only he knew. Um, but those are some examples of people whose legacy has increased and increased and increased and increased. Because I kept hearing people that loved Aesop Rock who I love, right? Curly Castro loves Aesop Rock. Okay, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna jump in, right? And that causes me to reevaluate. Like there's the legacies these people build by spiderwebbing in that imperfect.
Mm.
So crime might win that because he's everywhere and he's got lots of stuff. But if none of it radiates forward in importance to anybody, then it's a bunch of pennies in the fountain.
That's a good point of if, okay, that helps me refine. Because yeah, for the people who drop a ton, the catalog has to have enough that if you throw a dart at the board, yeah, if you hear somebody's name on a different record, you throw a dart at the board, the 98% of it, you can be like, oh hell yeah, that's dope. Whereas yeah, I don't know. Again, I haven't even listened to all across, so I don't know there. But I think that's more work on people who drop a lot. You got to make sure every single thing, if that's the thing somebody comes across on Spotify or wherever, it has to hit, which is too much pressure for me.
Yeah. No, it's and the problem that those people fall into, and obviously preservation keeps this from happening on this album, right? Preservation's an album motherfucker. Like, no way about it, you know. But some of these guys are in the mentality of like, I'm a spitter, so I'm raw all the time, and I'm just gonna wreck it and keep wrecking it and keep wrecking it, you know. And I'm gonna put out 6-7 albums this year to prove that I'm awesome. But they're not albums in the sense that they're very different from the other project, right? It's the mixtape thing, right? And preservation makes this a world, and preservation makes Crime Apple different than he's ever sounded, right? And Crime Apple's energy does something to these songs that we've never seen in preservation. So that's why I like this thing. I like how it turned out. Kay, did you like this at all? Or was this not your deal?
Uh, yeah. I mean, there were some good points. I mean, I like the production more than the content or the lyrics, I should say. But I mean, it wasn't like Crime Apple was bad. I just really liked the production on it.
That's fair. Yeah. It's short. It's got some minute and 23-second songs that really breeze by. It's an easy listen. Um, yeah, I really like it. I really like it. Um, but I understand if it's not everybody's cup of tea. How does this rate for Crime Apple projects you've heard? Okay, nice.
I mean, it's up there because of what you said of like the on an emotional level, it had more than I could, or it had more than I could relate to on other projects. Um, like he's definitely one where I've listened to, and I think it's dope, and I can throw it on. But if I'm completely honest, it's usually one of those I throw it on and I'm not paying attention anymore. Like it's good background rap for me, like when I'm doing stuff around the apartment or something.
Yep.
Where this is one where like I don't know that I would just like throw this on, but in a good way, right? I would throw this on when I want to have headphones on and sit and listen. So it did,
Yeah.
yeah, this is probably up there. Wet Dirt's forever my favorite just because that was my intro record to Crime. So that's just like stapled in my brain as the thing that I like.
Yeah.
But this is, yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's a great point. Okay, I think that is the ultimate progression of this album is Crime Apple came out of the background noise for this. Like Crime Apple's voice and like his story is here finally, right? And it's not just witty and clever and dope. It's more than that, you know? So that's cool. The what Kay, what should we talk about next?
Um,
Ooh.
not the Andrew. What is the other project? It's escaping my mind.
Reef. Reef.
Huh? Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Reef.
Let's talk about the Triumphant.
Triumph. Yeah, there we go.
I think this is my album of the year. It's and I didn't know it when it came out. I knew it was good. I was like, oh, this is very good. There's a lot of good stuff here. But the more I listen to it, even though it's very long, um, it's very long in a good way.
Mhm.
It feels like it has everything in it.
Mm.
And I just can't get enough of it in that way. OKnice, you said it was your favorite. What is what has made it that? What got
I
it?
mean, so I was completely unfamiliar with Reef going into this. And so and I think I told you like I wanted to listen to it just because I wanted to hear something I'd never heard before. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's crazy how quick this this was my favorite thing. I mean, I like a lot of serious stuff.
Yeah.
And he hits like a lot of really raw points, but again in a way that's like it's a good song. He doesn't sacrifice a good song for like overly honest moments. Uh like it's well written. But then on
Yeah.
top of that, the thing that sold it for me is like it ends so hopeful. Uh like the heaviness of the subject, and I just didn't know when he's rapping about his dad. Uh
Woo.
oof, oof, uh but like he doesn't, it didn't completely weigh me down. Like I didn't
Yeah.
finish this record and then feel like I had to go take a breather. Which is like that's a feat, man. Um that's a feat to be able to do that. And I think like you said, the length of it, I like long songs, I like long records. And I think this is the place where like it made sense. Because I think if it was shorter, it would have just like beat the shit out of me emotionally and then be like, all right, see you later, Um, and it didn't do that. And yeah, I loved it because it checked every box for me of what I want out of a rap record. It really did.
Mhm.
And now I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's Reef. Kay, I don't know how familiar you are with Reef. Uh, Reef is one of the like guys I would call like the heart of the region people. Or not necessarily the most popular in the region, but are known as like the good citizens of that region, right?
Mhm.
Like Trade the Truth in Houston, right?
Right.
Like Reef is that for Philly. Reef came up like doing songs with Jedi Mind Tricks and as just a fire breathing MC, you know, and just somebody who was ready to destroy any and everybody and has grown into a father, pillar of the community, uh, and tried to give you an album that had all of it,
Mhm. Yeah.
uh, which is great, which is really an interesting feat. It's 52 minutes long. It's so that's like twice the El Leon. Um, but the opposite feeling where an El Leon ends and I'm like, oh, I want there to be more of this. Triumphant ends and you feel like like you're the end of Moonlight. You're just like,
Yeah.
oh, Shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like this project, how do I say this? Like it had a reason for being. Because I mean, I look at a lot of other projects and like, I won't name specific names, but I don't know the reason why this project is being released. Like, are
Right.
you just trying to get like 10 songs, or I'm sorry, get how many ever songs out there? Like, are you just trying to show the work that you did with the person? Like, for a lot of the projects that are coming out, like there's no reason for them, to be, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Uh and I felt like with this project, it was actually, there was a reason for it. There was an intent behind it. And there was something for me to take away from it, aside from, oh man, this guy really knows how to rap. Um, so and it's because, like you said, I think there was clear thought into the progression of it. And I mean, I'm looking at his Bandcamp, and I mean, I see that, I think his last project, I think it was called The Majestic.
Yeah.
It seems like that was like his last major project or album. That was in 2021. Uh, so he's given. It's been 3 years since his last project, and I can tell that, that he was taking that time or that space to not only live life but craft something that was worth releasing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's and he, by the way, I think the last Reef project that I really adore before this one
Mm-hmm.
is the airing of grievances, uh, which is from 2020. 7 songs. It's awesome. Yeah, but it's yeah. This is the most album we've gotten out of Reef in a maybe ever. Um, it's really a complete work, and you're right, Kay. You can feel the years of work going into it. So I'll give you my theory. I was running on the elliptical listening to this album, and I came up with this theory. Right,
Okay.
uh, the power of Reef as an MC is weaponized bluntness. Reef can say shit that you would say, but he sounds fucking better saying.
Mm.
He just knows how to stamp what he's saying to a really impressive degree. Um, Trying to give the example here would be the first line on Murderer's Row. That's a big posse track. Everybody's on it. First thing he says is, "May this beat rest in peace." And this is so fucking cool. But it's such a like everybody's done a version of that, right? I killed the beat, but he has a way of being blunt and in your face and summing things up that is uncanny and special, top tier
Mm.
as
Mm-hmm.
a category of like MC shit, right? When you like, yeah, it's cool if you're really intelligent MC and you can explain to me lots of cool shit, but if you can give me everything in one line, you can't beat that. And that bluntness, he's unstoppable with that.
Yeah.
I agree. I feel like that's a really Philly. I mean, like you said, he really reflects the sensibilities of the region where he comes
Yeah.
from.
Yeah. How did that theory strike you again? I see you thinking about it.
I was trying to think too. I was trying to remember some bars from it because, like, I mean, because that's my favorite thing, like hands down. Whether that's music or like poetry or novels. Blunt writing is my favorite. Like that's for me. That's what I like. But there's a like a skill to it, right? There's a lot of skill to it. It takes a lot of work
Right.
to say something plainly and in a way that like is worth saying. Um, I think there's a certain way he raps because I was trying to think of how to word it. It's not aggressive. Like he's not what I would call like an aggressive rapper,
Right.
but it's assertive and it's like and that's part of it is I believe I mean this is like a perfect like he says it with his whole chest. Like everything that he says, I believe. Um, like every story he tells, and part of that's like in the details, right? He tells his details, or it's like that's a real thing. Um, but he just says it in such a sure way. And again, it's not like biting, it's not like shouting it at us. It's just he just says it, and kind of like what you were saying. Like I think of like be in the heart of a city. Like yeah, he feels like a dude I'd run into and he'd tell me a story, and it's that kind of
Yep.
feeling. But it doesn't feel it doesn't feel old head, right? And I think that that's what he's balanced really well. It doesn't feel like come here, let me teach you a lesson. It just feels like a dude sharing his story and like just in a way that really makes it matter. And it's really well done.
And yeah, it sounds crazy to say, right? But if you know what I mean. My favorite thing about Reef might be how he decides what he doesn't say. Because you had a great point of like, if you're gonna be a blunt writer, MC, right? You're gonna have to decide what to cut out to increase the impact, right? You're gonna have your full sentiment, you're gonna have to edit out anything extemporaneous. And you're gonna have to get better at that to the point where you are speaking as a laser, right? Cutting through everything. And Reef's ability to do that is staggering, you know? And it's it's why it's so this album's so impactful because of that writing turned to these personal subjects is a lot, right? I don't want to be no excuse for me to turn into Joe Jackson because you dropped a towel in the pool. Uh, it's it's incredible. It's right there. Um, yeah, just the impact.
Mhm.
It's how you decide what you don't say that helps you be the blunt artist that you want to be. Um, because that leaves only the best stuff.
Mm.
And
Right, and
as a
you
wordy
have to focus
individual,
on the best stuff. There's not.
that
It doesn't dilute the message.
as a wordy individual, I had to. It took me a while to deal with that. Like, and my wife had to help me sometimes and be like, her great expression was that alliteration is like croutons in a salad. It's great, but you don't want all croutons.
Damn. It's a bar. That's
And so she would always, if she caught too much alliteration, she would be croutons, and she would
I love that.
fuck out.
wow. That's
I
I'm gonna start calling those croutons. I'm gonna start teaching that in class.
I
Dude, these are
married a
croutons.
bad motherfucker, man. This is
yeah. You got to clip that. That's whew,
I married a bad one.
great line.
Not gonna lie. But like that's so that the management of words, right? The management of words is key, and this album is brilliant at that. And like there are perfect songs on here where it's like, this is a soul record, you know? The title track, there's some of the tracks where this is a fucking soul record. This is like this has so much heart in it. Um, yeah.
I don't know the last time a title track was maybe my favorite track on a project, but this was one. I mean, it really was. It's rare to me that I hit a title track and I'm like, oh wow, this is why it's called that. Like, but this one really was.
Yeah, I can't lie. Offenses hit me real hard when I first heard it. And then when I came back to it, the second time I played the album, I played Fences 4 times in a row and was soaking in tears. Um, and it was because, as a parent and you just live through all that shit. Um, and I was just like, damn, that's a special. That whole run is special. What is the run around Fences, K? Give me the
Ooh, okay.
the light of day, Fences, Miraculous. Oh my god, Tangerine before that. I think
Right.
that's
Ooh, yep.
five, six,
We
seven.
around.
That shit's crazy, bro.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie, Tangerine might be my favorite track. I forgot about Tangerine.
Tangerine
Yeah,
is
Tangerine's good.
nasty. Um, and then you go from that. I don't know. That end run is from 11 to 15 is something as well.
Umar's Revenge, Young Bull,
Oof.
Murder's Row, All Be Over, The Triumphant.
Young Bull. I'm gonna write about Young Bull. Young Bull is a really important song, in terms of the way it's written, right? And we talk about the bluntness, right? He says, that last verse where he has to decide how the story ends, right? Um, the crazy thing is that in that last verse, the way he ends it, he says, you know, is this gonna happen? Is that gonna happen? Is this gonna happen? He lays out everything that can happen, and he says, you know, I'm rooting for Young Bull, even if it's just on the page.
Mm.
And it was just such a, it's like, I think about that line all the time. Like that the way this progresses is out of my hands. I'm telling you the story, but it's not mine to finish.
He exists because he exists in such an interesting space because you know people like this in everyday life where you're like, I couldn't tell you how old he is. It's somewhere between 25 and 50.
Right.
You know, like I know that he could rent a car, but I don't think he can get like senior discounts, right?
Yeah.
And it's because of his like the different stories he tells. And again, it's just that level of like he tells them in such a real way. Um, and in such again that blunt way. I'd be really he's somebody I'd be interested to talk to him about his writing process. I
Yeah.
because he's so blunt, like we're talking about, that usually takes like a ton of editing, but it is still really raw. And I know sometimes like you over edit something like that, it loses that rawness. I'd be interested to know how he writes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
There's he did a great interview on the Next Movement podcast, which was really dope. And so people check that out to get a chance. Um, but yeah, a really important uh person who's able to do all these things. And I think you're right. It's what makes Young Bull so special is it's an empathic song, right? It's not written to shit on new rappers.
Yeah.
It's written to say these guys have it harder. They're being monitored all the time. They can't grow. Their growth is being stunted and sometimes permanently halted.
Mm.
And like, so he's looking at that situation and going, let me explain to you how hard it is for these kids. It's awesome. That's the community leader type shit that he gives you.
Mm.
But yeah. But beyond that, we talked about all the lovely shit. I still love Rafael De La Ghetto. I still love Umar's Revenge. This is still a fire breathing dragon.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
I
it's a good
love
good
when the
balance
dragon
to
breathes
it.
fire. What are you just saying again?
There's a good balance.
Yes.
Balance.
Yes. Totally. Good balance. Um, I think it's a great idea because it an album this long, it couldn't be all serious.
Right.
That would be a lot to ask the audience to go through 52 minutes of just yeah. So yeah, but I don't know if there's bangers per se on here. I don't know if there's anything
Hmm.
that goes crazy like that. But everything fits just so well. 15 songs. Uh the shortest song is what, 2 minutes and 6 seconds? It's the first song, and the rest of them are just full songs. Kay always complains about this when it doesn't feel like it's a song. It like ends too early, and you're like, is that what is that? Snippet? What happened?
Right. What's right? Like, what's the point? What's the point of it? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. As I said, to go back to what I said, a lot of the music just feels like it's intentless. It was just created just to be released, like a sketch. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the stuff feels like sketches to
And
me.
it's like anything, if
Yeah.
sometimes in a minute and 10 seconds, you can really hit your point, right? But sometimes you haven't found it yet. And so if you end it in a minute and 10 seconds, the audience is just confused as to what that was all about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they'll go to another song that's like completely different. Like I can understand if you're trying to connect something, make like a collage or something. Yeah, that's fine. But you have a minute song, and then your next song is something completely different. It's like, okay, what were we just doing there? What was like the point of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you had some nice bars, but like, okay, like what am I supposed to take away from this?
Yeah, I mean, I struggle with short songs, with like the super short stuff.
Mm, I hear you. I mean, I've gotten better at it, like, and am better at embracing it. Because I think there's people that are really good at it, you know, but it's a
Mhm.
trust thing, right? Like Fatboy Sharif gives me a short song. I know it's supposed to be short, and
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
that's a good
good.
point.
Like I'm digging in it. So yeah. So yeah, I think it's depends, you know, but you have to you have to be conscious of it, you know. Yeah.
It's like everything, right? It has to be, yeah, it has to be a choice with a reason. Like it can't just
Yes.
be just because.
Yeah. I think the progression, if I was gonna nail what you, because we talked about what the progression was for Crime Apple in the last album, it was tone, right? Elion. I think the progression this album is completeness. We got the fire breathing dragon, we got the personal stories, we got the community stories, we got the posse tracks, we got everything we wanted.
That was the other note I had on this one was all of the features made sense and all of the features made the record better.
Mhm.
There wasn't a single feature that I didn't want there. Even when there was like maybe this isn't for me, didn't mean it shouldn't be there.
Yep. Man, Irv the Villain. Great job by Irv the Villain on second 15th track. Um yeah. No, it's a heck of a thing and mastered really well. Khalif Now uh produced, recorded, and mixed it. Um yeah. So it's really, it sounds great.
Yep.
One of my knocks on Reef, but and this is just my personal thing. Reef was like really good friends with like the Snow Goons and those guys, and I don't have much use for the Snow Goons. I in terms of the beats, they seem nice. Everybody likes them. They have great merch. Um, but in terms of their music, it's a little humdrum. It's a little, you know, uh, you know these rappers where you're like, holy shit, they're much better than the beat. You know, you are much better than the beat you're on right now. Um, and yeah, Reef was like that for a while. Reef was just much better than the beats he was spinning on. And at this one, this production is as good as he is, and it doesn't stick out like that. Does that make sense?
What on that last record, the last Reef record you were saying you liked?
Yep.
Who produced that one?
Good point. That's a good point. Let's
I'd be interested to know, like, what about that one did it for you?
well, that one was short. It was like 7 songs, and it was themed on the airing of grievances, the Seinfeld thing. So it worked really well.
That
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that's what it was based on.
No, it was. It was the airing of grievances. It was the Seinfeld joint. So it was themed really well. Yeah, it went down really well. Let me see. I gotta find out who did that. Because yeah. I've wanted a Small Professor Reef album for a long time. You know, that's been my jam. So I want that, but we'll see. So Sharif Lacey, I think, did the production there. Yep. Sharif Lacey. So that's not bad. The and that's got some great shit. Cold Weather Kids. Yeah. It's got some crazy stuff. The let me see here. Should we see here? Okay. What is your favorite run on this album? Um for like for these songs. When you pull up the track listing, where do you think it's its most powerful?
I mean, I think the ending, I think like OKnice was saying, I think he really stuck the ending. So I would say it was probably the last 4 songs for my part. I mean, I thought in general the whole project was very cohesive, but you know, the what's the word I want to use? It was essential that he stuck the landing for the album to resonate. And I think that he did do that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a Billy Woods was on a podcast and he said somebody's asking him about the end of the album, and he said, to me, the beginning and end of the album are 2 songs, not 1 song.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about Aethios. He was like, the first 2 and the last 2 are all kind of, those are connected to each other. Right? That's how he thinks. So, and this kind of feels like that to me. Because that, as you said, the Triumphant is great, but All Be
Yeah.
Over feeds into the Triumphant, right? I can't picture it without it, you know? And Eulogy and In Dreams have that connected relationship too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely a lot of thought put into the sequencing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. How do you feel about it, Nice?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I was saying that about the sequencing. It's interesting to think about that versus what you were saying about like feeling like on crime records, right? Producers are the ones who come up with everything after, other
Right.
than the raps. And it is interesting to think about that of like, yeah, every part of this feels like the choices he made. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's actually a toss up for me. Um, Basically from I mean, yeah, from Young Bull to the Triumphant is a crazy run, but Eulogy through Tangerine is
Woo!
also really wild. I mean, Rafael De La Ghetto is that's like my number 2 next to the
It's
Triumphant
so
as far
fucking
as favorite
good.
tracks.
It's
Um,
good.
and I say that and it's like, well, then there's just like Fences is in the middle. That's not included in either. And
Yeah,
but
to
I think
me,
like
mine is Tangerine through Miraculous. To me, that's what makes this a special record. Tangerine through through Miraculous is like, not only is that unlike any sequence of songs that Reef has, but it's unlike any sequence of songs you'll find anywhere. Like, it's crazy. It there's uplifting stuff, there's heavy stuff, there's introspective stuff. You just kind of get a little bit of everything.
I
So,
do think the placement of Miraculous after Fences is really smart.
oh my, yeah.
Because I don't know how I would, if I don't know how I would follow up Fences. Like if that was some song I wrote, like I wouldn't know. But Miraculous is perfect. Right after that.
And if you leave it as the last song, it's like, is that where I wanted to leave them? You know,
Mhm.
that you have to deal with that. So, but yeah, ultimately, I love this. Kay, was this your favorite of the three, or was this the
Second, it was the second favorite. Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful man? Glad you enjoyed the crime apple. No, let's
Yeah.
no, we talk. We got to talk about Not Fade Away. Um, fucking Jesse the Tree and Andrew. Um, it's this is a sneaky fucking album
Yeah.
because it's slower paced. This is meant for smokers to enjoy, right? Mr. Elevator. Um, and so it's that slower tempo. Um, but the more you listen to it, the more you find cool shit, the more you find new favorite songs and favorite moments and depth.
Yeah.
Sneaky. These are sneaky people.
Yeah.
The Sleeping Dogs, sneaky people.
Sleeping
You
dogs,
know.
sneaky people. Yeah, but I mean, and it's both of these artists are growing at an incredible clip, right?
Yep.
Um, Pigeon Man was the first time I heard Jesse, right? The Strange Famous release. He's from Rhode Island, so he's a New England MC, and everybody loved him. And I was worried. I was like, I hope this guy doesn't suck because it's gonna get awkward, right? And for me to be like, not really. But like Pigeon, the thing that I liked about Pigeon Man, I still have it in the car. It's fun as shit.
Yep.
It's deeply poetic, but it's fun as shit. And Jesse is really intelligent. He understands your skill set, right? So he does an album with Mopes. Mopes is a hammer. Mopes wants to hit you in the face. So Mopes beats are like nasty beats, and there's a propulsion there. Like there's a movement to Pigeon Man. It's kinetic. And then he follows it up with this, which is deeply psychedelic and slower and a totally different tone.
Yeah. Because I think of as we're talking about progression. So Sleeping Dogs was the last. I think that was their last album. That was the last one that I've heard from them. And then to hear this project, I was just pleasantly surprised at the pace. They still had elements of that, but it was just more like assured to me.
They have a new Sleeping Dogs album coming in March, by the way.
Oh wow. Okay,
Yeah.
next month. Okay.
Yeah, man. But this was a good way to engage with. Andrew's got more work out there that people know.
Yeah.
Andrew put out like 4 albums last year.
Yeah.
So
it's always working for sure.
Always working. So Jesse as a writer, I think people are just starting to get to know. And this is a good place to get to know. How do you feel about Jesse the Tree as a writer, Ken?
I think for me, like he's always been a good writer, but I think his delivery is being refined. Like his delivery, as I said, it sounds a lot more assured, a lot more like I'm going at my pace, but there's still going to be an urge. I don't know how to explain it. Like he's walking, but he's walking deliberately and walking with intent. You know what I mean? So it's he's still going at a languished pace, but there's a little bit of intent and urgency to it.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. And he finds a way, like every Jesse the Tree song means something,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so he's able to pull images and use the right images. And so the songs have perspective and vision to them.
Yep.
Yeah. How do you feel about Jesse the Tree as a writer and the skills possessed? OKnice.
I mean, he really because I got hit to Jesse. Yeah, I think it was off. I think it was off Pigeon Man. I was trying to think about that today. I think that was where like my entry point, and like for me, it was genuinely like a slow understanding of what I was getting into. Because I didn't really know, you know. I didn't know the producer because that was one where I was kind of cold turkey, right? Like I didn't know the producer on that one. I didn't know Jesse, but I knew people I liked him, right?
Yeah.
I didn't start like really paying attention to his writing until Sleeping Dogs, and Sleeping Dogs really clicked for me. Everything he does,
Yeah.
like, because he writes in a really interesting way, because like he balances uh uh the world of like kind of avant-garde rap with, I mean, like with sports references really well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can hear each of his influences, but in a way that they all go together, which is really, I think it's really rare, admittedly. Um, like I think a lot of times we all know we have multiple influences, but we kind of pull on one. I think Jesse is like definitely a product of all the things that like raised him, you know, and influenced him in a really pure way, and it comes across supernatural. And I agree with Kay, like his enthusiasm on Sleeping Dogs, but then especially on this record, was just a whole other level. Like his
Mm-hmm.
personality was really clear here.
Yes.
Um, like it just was so engaging. Um, and yeah, balance and like that balances with the Andrew beats really well. You know, because like honestly, it's kind of the the flip side of the Crime Apple Preservation Project, where um, the Andrew beats really smooth, um, fairly straightforward in the good way,
Yeah.
and then Jesse's like dynamics just reshaped it, um, from like what you first heard really well. I mean, just a fucking great combo. But
Yeah.
yeah, I loved everything about this project and everything that Jesse's doing, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's you think about like um there's a swagger, there's still a swagger about Jesse, right? Whereas like some people when they're doing this kind of avant-garde emotive music, there's no room left for swaggering, you know. Jesse still loves Dipset, right? Like still loves that kind of music. So when you hear OMC with Ill Subliminal, that's a swag song. Like that's like a turn up song. Like it's really fun, but then you know, you've got Heaven, which to me is like that's the power of Jesse as this kind of, you know, beautiful New England poet. Um, you know, there's a classic literary New England literary thing about how he writes. And Heaven is really special in that way. Um, but what a project manager, right? Like, look at the features on this album.
Mm.
Like AJ Suede, Not Really, Slumber Logic, Ratman Gavin,
Subliminal.
Subliminal. There's like these guest verses are high quality.
Yeah.
Specifically the Ratman Gavin song, Pale Horse, is one of my favorite songs of the year. Um, it's with them just trading off and going back and forth.
Yep.
And these aren't incredibly well known people. Uh, like Slumber, who's been on this, and Gavin have both been on here. But he's got his ear to the ground. Like he knows who's dope, and like putting all that on here is really special. It all works really well.
I mean, similar to the Reef Project, this is another one where like the features just made sense. There isn't anybody I'd cut. And when I was thinking about it, it's like that's might actually be something that the Crime Apple project was missing for me. Was like a couple more well placed, like smart features. Um,
Right, because Sadat X killed it, and that was awesome.
mhm.
That was fun to hear. But I would have liked to be surprised again and all that. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah, change up who's talking. But yeah, well, that's the other thing is Jesse's flow is so durable. Like it can ratchet up, it can go all the way back and all the way down. So Andrew takes full advantage of that and gives you lots of flavors on this thing. Yeah. So, oof, man. So yeah, what were your favorite songs on here? Okay.
I loved Audrey Horn.
Oh,
I liked Big Star, and then I liked Toy Machine actually.
Toy Machine was my early favorite. Like
Mhm.
that beat is filthy. I just love that beat. Um, it's so dope, and I would say that my run of songs here would probably be, I don't know, Big Star through Toy Machine, or Heaven through Toy Machine. One of those.
Mm. Mhm.
Um, that's really the body of this thing. But Canary Yellow Submarine is so dope because Suede is one of those people who's super durable as well,
Yeah.
and also is masterful with psychedelic sounds.
Him and Suede just made sense to me.
It just
I mean,
makes
it really did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was yeah. As soon as Suede came in on it, I was like, oh yeah, no, this just makes sense. Like in such a perfect way.
I wrote about this album, like my January wrap up, and one of the things I wrote about was that, um, like Jesse's a link between the avant-garde poetic scene and the, you know, straightforward hippity hop rip tracks type worlds. And I was like, if you're looking for somebody else who's a link, just listen to Canary Yellow Submarine because Suede is exactly that as well. You know,
Mm.
um, so that song is important to me because those guys are both really good. And Suede finds it. Suede will jump on your song and find a completely new tempo to rap at.
Yep. I mean, the pockets he finds to rap in are so stupid.
A
Like
complete pocket
it's
creator.
wild.
Yeah, crazy.
Because they make sense. It works perfectly. It's not like he's just doing whatever he wants. But he just finds, I don't know. It's wild to me.
The fucking scientist, you know. Um, so I love it, and I think that's, um, yeah, man. The development of the sound is really good. Um, which, man, the that like Nina Simone sample was crazy. Um, yeah, this continues the thing I love about Andrew, where Andrew will pick big juicy samples that most people would stay away from
Hmm.
and get the absolute most out of them.
Yeah, Bug Flesh is like that's one of my favorite songs of the year so far.
Oh,
Uh that beat was really unsuspected. I mean, then Bug Flesh is like right up my like that's what I listen to. That kind, you know. But that to me was like Jesse killed it, and I just did kind of sit in a little bit of awe of where Andrew came from on that. Just because I don't know, it just felt really unexpected, and yeah, it just fits so well.
Yeah, no, sometimes Andrew will go and do new shit you've never heard, but a lot of time Andrew will charge through and do what other people don't do. And I think it's almost like there's always a Top Chef contestant who's like, you know what? I'm just gonna make fried chicken. And everyone's like, how fucking dare you? This is Top Chef. We're diffusing and distilling and we're doing all this shit. Fried chicken. You're not gonna win with fried chicken. And they're like, wait till you taste my chicken. And then they win with the chicken, and people are pissed. But like it's sometimes that's how these beats are. We're just like, you know what? He did it. He took the biggest, juiciest thing, and he built it even bigger and juicier around it to the point where it was undeniable. You know?
Yep.
Yeah. And yet sincerely soulful, right? Like Andrew's a sincerely soulful like production. And you can feel that warmth, you know.
Yeah, his palette for samples too is really like it's wide. I mean, it's diverse. It's yeah, I've got an undisclosed folder that has some like just I mean left field samples from him. And it's just yeah, in just weird ways like weird. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not one like I don't make beats, so I don't care too much about like you bet you couldn't guess where the samples from. But like I mean, you just got some words like I couldn't. You could lie to me and tell me you play guitar on this. So I have no idea where you would have got this from. You know, and just that's always so wild to me.
Yeah. And both of these two are growing, but they're growing at a similar speed.
Hmm.
And I think that's what's making these projects so interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
That's why you're like, I think you said this was better than Sleeping Dogs, right? Or
Yeah, I mean, I think it was more assured. I'm not gonna say it's necessarily better because I think it's almost. I think it's just what I think I liked it more because it was more. It was more assured, and then I liked seeing the direction they went in compared to Sleeping Dogs. Yeah.
these are people who are adding on to what they do with each project.
Yes.
And so that's why this sounds so incredible. And why the next Sleeping Dogs record will probably sound even crazy.
Right. It was like you said a little while back. Like they tried something and then they didn't just like pick a new direction completely. They kind of built on it and expanded their skill set and what they were doing.
Right. Right. There's some of these collaborations, rap collaborations are transactional,
Yeah.
Hmm.
right? They're like, all right, I heard you, let's do an album together. Cool, cool, cool. And these guys are friends. Like these
Yeah.
guys discovered each other and they're friends and they love hanging out and they love making music together and they're both growing at a similar space and similar clip.
Hmm.
It's hard to beat that. That's a great recipe
For sure. For
um,
sure.
so I think this is not fade away is sneaky good and special and whew, it's yeah, sometimes it's dialed down and direct. Sometimes it's big and splashy. Tree Nowitzki's awesome. The basketball references are great. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, but and the sensitivity is still there.
Hmm.
Like the to be able to just look at the audience and be like, "You're doing great. Don't worry about it." You know?
That I was so mad when I heard that hook because it should not have worked that well. And I just like it was just one of those where like I just did like the Narcos stand around my apartment, stand and stare into the distance. Because it was like, how did I not like? Just how do you not think of that? Why? It's so good. It's so good, and he does it. It's so smart and so simple. I just yeah.
Yeah, no, he has that thing where he can say he'll say stuff and you'll be like, I don't think I've heard anybody say that before. Like, I don't think that's a reworking, right? Like, he's that's why I asked you about him as a writer, Kay, because I think as a writer, his lens is different. It's
Yeah.
really interesting, and I'm excited for that to grow with Andrew, right? Because yeah, and so that's really dope.
Yeah.
Yep, people are repping. So, yeah, it's good times. Do you want to go to anything else, or should we do recommendation corner?
Yeah, let's go into recommendation.
Recommendation corner. Let's go. Oh, let's go. I'm gonna go with "What Now" by Brittany Howard.
Yeah, that's the one up. Yeah.
Crazy album.
Yeah.
Crazy. You're invited to the show, Brittany Howard. Come on, check it out. It'd be crazy. What an album! It's. At first, I was worried that it was some kind of dance album. Everybody's making their dance albums, but it is funky and it has Prince like moments. But you still get the voice, you still get the chops. Um, it sounds beautiful. Very happy for Brittany Howard. Um,
Oh yeah.
so great project. The we were talking about Suede, man. Suede is dropping something that will have dropped by the time we post this. Optimistic. 2 words. Um, Opta, Mystic, and he produced it, did the cover, and it's wild. It's so cool. It's so cool. Um, and Suede is just experimenting with music now in ways that a lot of people aren't. And it's because he's the producer and the rapper. So he can tell the rapper, you're in the back on this track, right? It's, the music's the forefront because he's both of them. So he's using that to his full advantage on this.
Him and Andrew are the exception to my like people shouldn't release too much because I mean there's somehow every release has been worth it in my opinion. And that's just so every time, yeah, there's a new Suede project. It's like, well, gotta make time for that.
Yeah, that's what seems like the impossible part, right? Like they're not just releasing a ton of stuff, but they're actually growing with each project. Like and releasing a ton of stuff, which feels like cheating.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I think it's different with when you're producing as well. I think that I mean that I think that may add like another dimension to it.
yeah, I think that's right. Let me go with the third. I would go with I'm gonna do Phasor by Halado Negro.
Oh, you got both of them. Damn, man.
I sniffed them right out of the air.
Yeah.
Also, happy Valentine's Day. The story of this behind me, okay, at work, there was a lady who was saying that they were like, "What are you guys doing for Valentine's Day?" And she's like, "I'm gonna have a romantic dinner on a beach." And I was like, "Man, I got nothing. I got nothing." I was like, "You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna draw my wife a romantic dinner on the beach." Bang! I did it. You can laugh at me and say I didn't put any work in. There's 3 different colors of water. I took time on this thing. So yeah, it's great. I had a great time. But shout out to my wife, who's an amazing person. And
Absolutely.
yep, survivor of me. But yeah, Mr. Nice, what are you rocking? What are you doing?
Music wise or my Valentine's Day?
Either way.
Well, I have to be. I was actually waiting for my opportunity. There's a new Asher Roth song, and I know I'm one of 5 people saying that this week, but there's a new Asher Roth song I'm never gonna shut up about. I'm an Asher Roth truther. Um, it's Asher Roth and Heather Gray. Uh, and it makes me excited for the potential of a new Asher Roth project because the last one was in 2020, and this new single is just really good. It's just really good. It's really good. And he was on my list thinking about people who I didn't think had progressed, and then when I really think about it, they've really come a long way. That's been, but like I've been running that on repeat. Otherwise, like I've been digging back into albums I missed in 2023 actually so far
Like what?
this year. I got put on to this project called Some People Scream, Some People Talk, and I hope I don't mispronounce the name, but I think it's Wakai, Wakai. Um, I it got it suggested to me, and I've played that on repeat. I played that more than anything else I played since like October, and it's from almost a year ago. And I don't know how I missed this. I don't know how I didn't see anybody talk about it.
That's great.
Project's amazing. Highly recommend.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll check that out. But yeah, and then I have long said Kay remembers my rants about Asher Roth that like Asher Roth is someone who got popular way too quickly and didn't get a chance to grow in a natural way. Released a few really good mixtapes, Greenhouse Effect, yada yada. And then boom, the white rapper Rocket hit and sent him to space, and he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. So
Yeah, I always feel like he and Mac Miller were good like shows of like kind of similar kick, right? Like both kind of similar vibe or whatever that people tried to push when they both started. And then yeah, you saw one go one way and one go the other. But Asher Roth, his later career stuff, I recommend. I really when he got super hippie, it wasn't my thing. But then like his record from 2020 and some of the things around that have been like I recommend.
because Mac had hits, but he never was like everywhere the way Asher was for that album.
That's true. That's very true.
He got a chance to kind of, he was multiple projects deep before he had anything running. So he was a little more in his footing, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you rock?
I mean, the two that you mentioned were my big two. But I got into a little bit of the so Kalila released
Yep,
it's a remix of Raven.
Oh, Raven remix.
RAVE.N.
Are they good?
Yes.
It's awesome.
I'm about 5 or 6 in, and it's like I'm really enjoying it.
That's dope. That's dope. Yep. There's also a person on Twitter. I don't know. Shout out this person. They keep just like commenting on whatever I say, saying "hit me up, bro."
Well, hit them up, bro.
And then I've seen them comment on other people's stuff, saying "hit me up, bro."
Oh,
So shout out to that person. Yep.
Somebody's got to hit him up.
Somebody's gonna hit him up.
Yeah, some bros got to hit him up, man.
Some girl's gonna hit him. Shout out to that. I don't think it'll be me, but
Then you're not a real bro, then.
yeah. Follow OKnice on Reddit and OnlyFans and Bandcamp, Spotify. Yeah. Follow, like, subscribe, comment. But your comments on our episodes, I'd like them to just be things you think about K Diggy.
Oh no.
Just go. And any thoughts? Welcome.
Hey, oh, bro, the guy that's looking for bro, hit me up, bro.
Hit me
Like,
up, bro.
I'll hit you up,
5
bro.
stars. Hit me up, bro. That's what. That's what
Yeah.
we gotta leave it there.
What will tomorrow bring? What will tomorrow